everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Runs and Acceleration with your host Ruhan and Akash. Today's episode will be focused on the upcoming T20 World Cup, which actually should have just started by the time this episode is uploaded. And today we'll be going mainly through the teams, what to expect, India's chances at the World Cup, and let's get started.
Yep.
So, Akash, I think first thing would be we've just gone through the qualifying stages. So we know that the four teams joining for the Super 12 are
Mhm.
Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, which wasn't a surprise. Then we have Scotland, who did quite well.
Yeah.
And surprisingly,
Dark
we
horse,
have,
the dark horse. Yeah.
yeah, Scotland is quite a dark horse because they have some good players. And Namibia, uh, featuring after quite a few years, I think, after
Yeah.
the 2007 ODI World Cup. So
Mhm.
great to see them back. Um, Do you think though any of them have a chance to make it to the knockouts? Being honest,
Very honestly, no. Just a fair warning, I do have a little bit of throat problems today,
yeah.
so
So
I won't be
just
talking a lot, but I'll be sharing as many opinions as I can. But honestly, very no. I think the one thing these ICC tournaments have been set up and the way the teams are set up, you really are going to see a lot of competition from India, Australia, England, and
England,
in my opinion, also I would consider them almost part of the big three almost these days is New Zealand because they're playing in a
yeah,
super high level cricket at any format and given any condition. And I would say the only thing that New Zealand lacks is just a proper spin department, in my opinion. Um, other
that
than
is true.
other than that, I think they've got batsmen that can take care of any kind of conditions.
Yeah,
But you know what? I like hats off to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. That's pretty obvious. Scotland have done quite well. So with Namibia, I mean they've kind of punched over their weight, but I don't
yeah,
expect them to. I just feel that the competition for them is going to be a little bit too much, even against. I
yeah,
think even a team. Unfortunate to say, South African cricket. I mean, we knew once upon a time that South Africa was one of the and almost could have had was once upon a time an unbeatable
true.
team, and with the kind of pace attack that they have, and they still have a very decent pace attack. But I just
But
think
their
that
batting's taken. Yeah,
exactly the batting has, it's the depth is I think it's gone in my opinion. It's so I just think a team like South Africa will give them a big challenge, and they're gonna have to be really tested. And when they go up against the likes of India, Australia, England, New Zealand, I think that they're just in for the fight of their lives. They're really gonna be holding on like on a knife's edge. So it's I personally, being very realistically, I'm happy that they're there, but I don't think they're gonna go that far. Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Interesting you bring up South Africa because the surprising thing was that Faf du Plessis has not been selected,
Mhm.
and I checked his retirement was from Test match cricket, so he's still eligible,
Yeah.
but he hasn't
They get
been picked
selected.
despite
Yeah.
being, I think he was 2 runs short of being the orange cap holder at this IPL
Yeah.
compared to Rituraj Gaikwad, which also brings me on to my next point, which is the IPL just happened at the very same venues. They have reserved a few pitches, but we kind of, all the big teams have got the experience there. So your
Yeah.
India,
Mhm.
Australia, West Indies. England surprisingly didn't because quite a few of their players were out. So
Yeah.
it's still going to be new home for them.
Mhm.
And I think what we are looking for this World Cup is not many high scores. Some grounds are getting better now because the players have gotten used to it, to these slow pitches.
Mhm.
But from what I'm seeing, it'll be a lot of like slow pitches,
Yep.
and the spinners are going to dominate.
Yeah.
So you need a very good spin department, like you said, which some teams lack.
Yeah.
But I think that's where Sri Lanka might actually do better than South Africa because of their spin. Their
Definitely.
only challenge is their batting.
Yep.
And if I was to give my top four, you give yours. I think for me it would be India, England.
Yep.
England because they have a very good all-round team,
Mhm.
and we'll go over India's team after this. I think for a T20 World Cup, West Indies is always a dark
Yep. West
horse.
Indies
They
always
have
is there. Yep.
amazing talent,
Mhm.
and one of them hits and it's automatically 200. You don't know who can play
Exactly.
on what day, and all of them are back.
Mhm.
Um, so that's there, and I think New Zealand is a very big chance. The
Mhm.
only challenge for New Zealand is can their batsmen play the spin? That's my
Yep.
only challenge for them
Mhm.
because that's except Kane Williamson and maybe sometimes if Latham is playing, they kind of struggle to deal with spin.
Yeah. I think the one thing about Kane Williamson is really interesting to note that he's coming off a pretty, I would say, a little bit of a rough time right now with Sunrisers.
Yeah,
Definitely not ideal. I think everyone kind of predicted them that they would come fourth. And they ended
yeah.
up coming what, second last, I think it was, or last.
No, no, they came last by like a few games.
Yeah, so yeah, something like that. I think I stopped following SRH after some time because I kind of saw that as a lost cause, very honestly. But
Yeah,
no, I think that like I hope that's not something that really affects them or does anything to them. So but we'll have to see what really happens with someone like Kane Williamson, because I really, I know, like, and we all know, he's the guy. To be honest, out of any single cricketer batsman in this world right now, I think for
yeah.
all conditions, currently
He is the one
I would
all-round guy.
I
True.
would send out Kalen Williamson if I have to bat for my life. I would send out him to survive anything. So I think he
True.
plays spin really well also. But you're very right. The other New Zealand batsmen, they their conditions in New Zealand are not spinning conditions. They're very swingy. They're quite pace. They're quite
Yeah.
nice pace conditions and everything like that. So that's really what they're used to. Um, and there's also not a lot of New Zealand batsmen that actually play in the IPL straight up.
Yeah.
So they
Exactly.
this is a foreign these are foreign conditions for them. Um, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think there was one interesting team I think you kind of omitted that I kind of mentioned was the great Australia. Oh man. What
I
okay,
don't think they have a
what
chance though
what do you,
because
what do
they're
you think's
struggling so
happening?
much.
Like, okay, my theory about this is, do you think after India beat them in the world, like India beat them in like the Border Gavaskar
Gabba.
trophy, like, do you think it's just like it's not even hit them properly? Like it's like sort of like sent a shockwave throughout like all formats and
I
all their
think,
players.
yeah, because there's been a big coinciding of David Warner kind of losing his touch massively.
Yep.
He's struggled like anything,
Hmm.
and their middle order doesn't seem to click for some reason. I thought it was just a thing with test matches, but every single format they play, um, batting collapses are happening like anything. Even in the practice games, they collapsed against India. And just for those who've seen practice games for the first time, maybe during this World Cup, practice games, you don't really have an 11 versus 11. Any 11 players from the team can bat and 11 can field or bowl.
Yep.
And despite that, Australia at one stage were 40 for 4 or something.
Yep.
And it was quite disappointing. So again, they have some very good pacers who can make the use of change of pace. They've played here. But again, in the IPL, Josh Hazelwood, sorry, went the distance in quite a few games.
Mhm.
Stark didn't play. Pat Cummins wasn't there. On the other hand, when you compare that to New Zealand, Lockie Ferguson was a big find
Yeah.
because he normally bowls at 150 and he has a good slow ball. So a 150 to 100, that makes a big
Yeah.
difference, and
Mhm.
that's what helped him. Also for Australia, I think what you're seeing is their batsmen are just not understanding after so many years that they need to read the spin.
Yeah.
They're still trying to hit against.
Mhm.
The only batsman who's kind of reading it now is Maxwell, who gives himself a couple of balls just to see it out of the hand,
Yeah.
and then he goes for it. Doesn't work
Yeah.
always,
I would
but he's
say
still
I
making
would
a
say that
change.
Maxwell for me is probably the batsman that's most informed on that Australia team. And
Mhm.
also the good thing for Australia is that that last game, I know that Delhi Capitals are playing. Steve Smith looked to be in, not, I wouldn't say amazing touch, but not bad. Like, definitely, like,
Yeah,
has shown his glimpses. So you know definitely they're a team. I think that like everyone does expect a lot from them, but I feel that there's been a lot of problems with the player. There's been some problems with the players, with management. There's been a lot of kind of
yeah,
a lot of miscommunication, I would say, from many parts. This has been going on for months, and also very much a lack of cricket they've been playing. A lot of the players have had to resort to playing Shield or like a lot of their county cricket, essentially.
yeah,
And I just feel that that like even these players, as world class as they are, you still need experience on the pitches. You still need experience playing T20s and everything. So Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I even remember what was it? I think Australia went up last against West Indies in that series, that T20 series, I think it
Yeah,
was.
I think that was
And they
a
got
couple of matches got washed
yeah,
out.
yeah,
So
something like that. But I didn't see, I don't remember anything really from that, to be honest. Like that was anything
there
really
was nothing
memorable.
remarkable that happened.
Um,
True.
and people like I even know like what's his like Josh Philippi, a brilliant opening batsman, not even in the team. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with selection with Australia. So it for me, I just I would say for people who are supporting Australia, I would say from a very realistic standpoint, I wouldn't expect them to like be carrying the World Cup. If they do, great for them. I think that's a great story for that. But I
Yeah.
personally don't see it, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. If they win, it'll be quite a fairy tale ending for the last 2, 3 years
Yep.
for Australian cricket, and doesn't seem to be going that way. If it happens, that's great. And for those of you who don't know, Akash and I both didn't watch the second leg of the IPL, in the sense that we didn't stay up to watch any of the matches. We kept in touch with the stats and everything for the
Yep.
podcast, but also because, like we mentioned in our last episode about the mental health of cricketers, we just feel there's too much happening. And even as fans, we were kind of like drawn away, because there's just so much happening, and a lot of it doesn't really, I don't want to say matter, it's just entertainment.
Yep.
Um, this is a World Cup, you're playing for your nation, so there's a bit more excitement.
Yep.
But as for the IPL, yes, we know what happened. We kept in touch with what's happening. But in terms of watching, maybe you guys can let us know in the comments or share with us personally what you felt.
Yep.
But it just got to a point where, there was just so much cricket happening.
Of course.
Just kind of needed a break.
Yep. Very true.
So,
Mhm.
so moving on now to our own chances as India for the World Cup, we've assembled a team. Um, I think fair enough, because the team was selected a little in advance. So Gaikwad not being there and other couple of players like that, understandable.
Mhm.
But okay, this is the conundrum, right? What is our batting lineup? The biggest question, as always.
I kind of have a feeling. This is my predicted batting lineup. Could be completely off. But my predicted batting lineup. I mean, Kohli has already said in the press conference that both KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma will open. I
Correct.
mean, that's pretty obvious. If you have them, I think I remember you said this so many times on the podcast that those two are probably the most destructive opening pair when they're both on song.
Absolutely.
So, and also Rohit in that last practice game looked brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So, and that's good signs for India. So that's really good. Kohli, of course, I think will come batting at number three. Have to have the captain there. Last time is we're gonna see him as T20 captain.
Definitely.
Then I'm gonna say Rishabh Pant at four. I think he's very much.
Interesting.
I really think that his role from Delhi Capitals. I even for the practice games, I was kind of surprised that he was batting a little bit ahead. But I actually think that's really good on him because I think he's one of those guys that needs the time and he can really fire. And also I would say for me, regardless of a Rishabh Pant bats, he's absolutely a sure fit on this team. Best wicketkeeper right now, best wicketkeeper batsman in my opinion. The only person I would say that's challenging him is Ishan Kishan, but I
Yeah.
still want to actually see if Ishan Kishan could get a game. He's a very really good talented player. And I would actually go between either Surya or Ishan Kishan at number five. I still think even though Hardik Pandya is not at his best, I still think you need someone like Hardik Pandya at six to be
Interesting.
batting that role. And then Jadeja at seven. So that's my top seven. I think it's one that India's kind of rolled with. Um, there's a few little changes here and there, but I think the kind of main place pieces are really important. The biggest worry for me, and I think the biggest worry for you, was also is that number six position. I just think
Yes.
that finisher is very unclear for us. I really think Hardik Pandya, if he's such a destructive player, but these last year, even I would say last year, last IPL, he was bloody brilliant. He was so good. He was heading it out. It was actually not amazing, but he was doing way better than what I thought he was going to be doing this year. But to be honest, I don't know who else is the other option. But
Mhm.
definitely, if you want to, go with a left field choice and maybe even like stacking up the batting and maybe putting like Surya and both Ishan on the team also. batting at 5 and 6, or maybe having a fluid 4, 5, and 6, and depending on the game situation,
Right.
I think that's fine also. But that's personally where I'm thinking the top 7 should be. Yeah.
Hmm. So I think my top 7 is um, a little bit different.
Mhm.
So top 3 remains the same. And yeah, Kohli did initially say back in March that he's going to be opening with Rohit during the World Cup, but we just saw what we saw in the IPL, or for us, what we read about was KL Rahul's scorecards just looked amazing. And I watched a couple of highlights, and
Mhm.
he's timing the ball like anything. I he got this chance to play in England out of a concussion for Mayank Agarwal. It
Yep.
just happened. Things clicked, and from there he's not looked back.
Yep.
He's gone to another level. He drove his team Punjab, which was quite deflated at the end, almost towards a potential qualifying spot. So good on him for that. Surya and Ishan did the same, coming in form for Mumbai Indians at the end. Neither of the teams qualified, but they've been in good touch. For me, I think 3 remains Kohli, 4 Surya. My problem with having Ishan at 4 is he doesn't play well below the top 3. His averages and his strike rate both take a hit because he's not able to start off against spin, and we saw that in the IPL.
Yep.
So I would say that if one of God forbid one of the openers has an injury, or they're just feeling a little tight, which can sometimes happen, and it's a game against a team where it's kind of dead rubber, maybe try him out then. Number 5 for me would be Rishabh Pant, although I agree with you. We can try and go back and forth in the middle just to, kind of upset the rhythm of the
Yep.
bowlers, not
Mhm.
because of just left and right with Rishabh Pant, but also he has this knack of just playing some shots that surprise you.
Yep.
Surya does it as well. Apparently in the practice game against Australia, he swept Mitchell Stark, the fastest bowler in the world, off middle stump or something. So that was
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
And so yeah, you can switch between the two of them depending on what you think. If it's more spin, maybe get Surya in. More pace, you want to go hard hitting, go with Pant. And I'm actually not going to go with Hardik at 6. I think he's had his chances. And while he's a great hitter,
Mhm.
if he's not adding much to the bowling, if he can't bowl, he's just, as a batsman alone, he won't be able to make it, according to me, because his performances are not there.
Mhm.
And he's kind of lost that touch recently. He's struggling a lot to connect,
Yep.
and there's ways you can plan against him. So I'd go with Jaddu at 6. I would take in an extra all-rounder in Shardul Thakur at 7, who's been great in the IPL.
Yep.
Because I also think the best teams, and I was mentioning this to you the other day, I think the best IPL teams, their structure from what I looked at was the top 3 or 4 are pure batsmen, and they have three great bowlers front line. But they have almost, if you take the wicket keeper out, then you have 3 good all-rounders. Right now, Hardik Pandya is no longer an all-rounder till he
Yep.
gets his back fixed, which won't be in this World Cup. Um, so I think if we have Jaddu
Yep.
and we have Shardul Thakur, that kind of strengthens. And because there's spin, I think we can choose between Ashwin or Chahar on a given day. I think then if you play Shardul, you can go with 3 spinners because
Yep.
Varun Chakravarti, no one's being able to pick.
Yep.
So Varun Chakravarti, and the 2 pacers then flat out for me would be Bhuvi and Bumrah,
Yep.
with the option of having Deepak Chahar if you
Mhm.
want to replace one spinner. Maybe instead of Rahul Chahar, Deepak Chahar can play.
Deepak Chahar is reserved, so just keep that in mind. He is reserved,
Okay.
so that is something that like that. But definitely, I think it. But like the reserve still can be picked. Yeah, I think it's depending on something like that. But yeah, no, I like your team definitely. I I definitely see the merit in it. I'm just generally I just don't know about Shardul batting at 7 or something like that. It's like yeah, it's
True.
like it's a little early for him, so I think we'll just have to see how it is. So I think we'll just finish off this. Is where do you think India's chances are for this World Cup?
I think if we tough question. I'll kind of biased, right? But okay, trying to be unbiased, looking at the team, we have probably the best team. We have the best players in the world from a statistical point of view as well. And these conditions are not that foreign to us because we are used to playing against spin. So I think if we play our cards right, if we manage our players and just not get it to our heads, we definitely have a chance of winning this time. We have Dhoni as our mentor, that should definitely help. And a soft ending note would be a big thank you to Ravi Shastri, Bharat Arun, all the coaches for the last years of service,
Mhm.
especially Bharat Arun, who's been instrumental in bringing up a world-class Indian pace attack. So
Change the
thank you so
pace,
much for your contribution.
change the pace department. Yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely historical, and a very warm welcome to our favorite, um, the biggest servant of Indian cricket, and probably the most loved Indian cricketer of all time now, with his involvement throughout, Rahul Dravid as the new Indian coach.
Yep.
Really excited. Um, this should be fun.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing is we've talked about how Dravid he's been part of this, like part of everything with the development of all these young players. So he's basically seen every young player, if you want to see, they've gone
They've
through
gone through
Dravid.
Rahul Dravid.
Yeah, they've gone through Rahul Dravid. So this is something that he knows everyone. Nothing new, nothing is going to be new to him. I'm excited. This is a proper time in
Yeah,
Indian cricket. And I think this is the time. I think Ravi Shastri, his way of playing, like just generally, was like very like to fight it out, like they're very
yeah,
gritty player. That's the same thing with Dravid, but I feel that he almost just personifies that even more, in my opinion, of that
true.
gritty fighter. And to me, I think India is becoming, from the series that we've seen in Australia, the series that we've seen in England, how like when the cards against India, they really do fight back, they really do fight hard. Um, I think this is a really exciting time. We've got I think we've got that series in South Africa that's coming up after this.
Yeah,
We've got the series in India against Australia. That's always
and we
interesting.
have we have another T20 World Cup next year.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's gonna be fun also. So I'm excited. I think this is gonna be the best time for us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So lots of excitement going in. Obviously, India Pakistan, the first game should be a lot of fun. But
Mhm.
even other than that, we have some tough challenges in Afghanistan on pitches like this. Um, so this is going to be very interesting, and let's see what happens. So until then, guys, we'll give you an update maybe halfway through the World Cup. We'll try and do something then, or maybe something sooner. Something on F1 should be coming up because that race is also heating up.
Mhm.
So yeah, until then, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Let us know what you think. And this is Ruhan and Akash from Runs and Acceleration.
Bye.